Hey guys, I am sick as a dog, but I'm not letting that stop me. I've been wanting to do live streaming for a while. This is those first reps. I didn't want to already not have a night where I didn't do it, which FYI, last night I did do one. I actually did it on the other channel, the Bravo Hood channel, which I linked to in the description below here. So I'm going to be playing around with this one. This is the main one. This is the one I have most subscribers on. But eventually in the near future, I'm going to try to go to the Bravo Hood one for all the dating life advice and the EDC expert for all the tactical stuff. So EDC, everyday carry. So if you want to make sure you don't miss out on those things, down below there's the links. Subscribe to both those channels. And like I said, I'm going to try to focus on those specific topics for each one, so the guys get what they want from these. So quickly tonight, I got a question. One of the top things ever talked about, brought up, that went mainstream from the game is the concept called NEGS. So I'm going to read the question and then I'm going to give you my thoughts on NEGS. So, hey Bravo, what are your thoughts on NEGS? I understand the psychology behind them, but I rarely ever use them. I'm very good at showing a lack of interest until the time is right in DQing, disqualifying, but I've never personally been a huge fan of having to use NEGS on girls. What are your thoughts? So, NEGS. Mystery actually commented on my Facebook page years ago. I think I still have it bookmarked because I was like, oh, that's cool. He actually defined it. But he specifically said the reaction from a neg is laughter. So if that's the case, that's not what you're not knocking someone down a few pegs. So going off of what he said, which he posted that on my Facebook page, we were discussing it. Some other dating coaches were responding, and Eric came in and responded, and that's it right there from the horse's mouth. So if a neg results in laughter, then is it really something where you're knocking people down pegs? So it can't be then. With that said, I also remember there's an old video of Neil years ago, and I looked for it a while ago. I can't find it anymore. If anyone finds it, let me know. He was on like a Dutch TV show or a German show or something, and they actually asked him to like, oh, hey, we're at a club. How would you hit on us? Which is always one of the most awkward, weird things. And it's horrible to do. You fall into their frame. It's just so weird. You're a dancing monkey. And yeah, so he actually did it. Later on, I think he knew not to do that. And then he had that good line on this channel with Jimmy Kimmel where he's like, oh, I don't have a talk show game. So that was pretty smart. And then later he ended up working some of the routines, and Jessica Alba really liked it. So huge credit on that one, because that was crazy. I remember telling him how great that was. And anyways, yeah, we all agreed it was awesome. But some of the other guys on other TV shows and the dating show, the blind date show and stuff, some of them, I remember watching all those when they came out, and like I never was really impressed with any of it. I thought it was kind of cheesy and kind of made a lot of the stuff look bad. But anyways, Negs, he was on that show, and when they were doing this whole awkward thing, he specifically said like, oh, I would just nag you a few times, like knock you down a few pegs, drop something like that. So anyways, is there a rebranding or a new definition of what nagging is? I don't know. I don't care. The thing I remember about it is, like, when we were first hearing about it, it was if a girl tells you she's like a model, and you're like, oh, like a hand model. That's like the cliche, total typical line. Like that's been used lots of times, and I think even on video, Neil did that where he's like, oh, like a hand model. So that's even weird. I don't think it ever got the point across. So really, from what I understand, like nags were just to convey that the woman's beauty isn't like hypnotizing you, and you aren't going gaga over it, you aren't going crazy over it. So she tells you something crazy about how hot she is, how she modeled, something like that, like something really cool, high level, whatever. I said crazy a second ago, but something like really that would blow most people away, and you act like non-reactive or you make a joke about it. That's kind of the way I always took it, and from what I've seen, that's how it was played. I never did any of that though, because to me, I always am doing like playful banter and joking around and having fun. And the other thing is, I think a lot of this stuff like an example of never, I remember being told never use self-deprecating humor ever, ever, ever. And I remember I think that was in the game, and then when I read it and then later heard it, I was like, wait, that's weird. Like I use it all the time and it's great. Like I love it. It's one of my favorite things. I'm always joking like that. And so when someone, like I've met some really amazing people in my life. I've trained with epic people. I'm friends with epic people. I've dated like amazing women, high level, high caliber. Like I like being around really outstanding, high level people. And so to me, when I meet someone and they're telling me about those kind of things, like if someone tells me something awesome, then I'm like happy about it. I think it's cool. I'm interested. And I think the biggest reason is because maybe I can relate and I've done some dope shit. And so like we both kind of respect each other. They've done some cool shit and I'm genuinely curious and want to know more. And then later they hear some of my stories and they ask me some questions. So I think that's maybe why it never was an issue or something I ever even thought about. I remember I tried nagging once. There's a story I think I posted up a little bit ago with went out with my wing the very first time, and then I told the girl she had the eye booger. It was a horrible. I'll tell a story another time. It was a horrible first set. It was just so cringe. It's a hilarious story now. But I said, "Oh, you have an eye booger," and then she turned to her friend and she was like, "Do I?" And her friend goes, "No." So then, like, I'm a liar. So after that, I just never ever did one again. So if I don't think something's cool, if I think something's lame, or if I think something's like they're trying to impress me and they say something but it doesn't impress me, like I'm just honest about it. If they tell me something awesome, like I think it's awesome, I'll tell them that's awesome. And it doesn't have to be something like the girl's a model. Like there's a girl who's like a school teacher. And I'm like, wow, that's something I could never do. Like I could never, you guys don't get paid enough. That job, it's like thankless and dealing with all those kids. Like I could never do that. That's amazing that you're a teacher. That's like the world needs amazing teachers. I had some cool teachers. Like that's awesome. So someone tells me that they're a nurse or a doctor or a neurosurgeon or something. I'm like, wow, that's amazing. That's like so cool. So I either have genuine interest and like admiration and like I don't want to say validation because I don't really want to think about validating them, but maybe it might seem like that. So either that or I'm like kind of like 50-50. I'm like, eh, on it. Or it might be something they're like, oh, I'm a big shot fundraiser for an anti-gun group. And I'm like the CEO of like some anti-gun group. And I'm like, oh, well, I hate you then because I'm a gun guy. Like, so that wouldn't be a neg. That would be how I really feel. Right. So, and you can feel the opposite way. It's fine. Um, I think you're wrong, but no, it's fine. You're allowed to have feelings and you're allowed to. So I think the big thing is going back to what I mentioned earlier about like the self-deprecating humor. I used it. I kill with it. I think it's hilarious. It's worked amazing. And then I stopped using it for a while. And then I realized later, oh wait, you shouldn't use it. The guys, when there's a chance, I was on a boot camp and I told a student told a girl that he was gay. And she's like, okay, like good for you. And like you shouldn't be telling people about your sexuality that you just met. Well, it was like real awkward and weird. And then later he brought me over and then I joked that I was gay too, because there's a whole long story about the boot camp. It wasn't my call, but that was the cover story before I had a little more freedom to roll how I wanted to. And so I was like, okay, I'm going to take what they say and make it great. The very first one I was hired for, and then I went up and said it, and the girl laughs and she's like, "No, there's no way you're gay." And I'm like, "Yeah, I am." Like girls, I use the terms for down there. I'm like, "Those are yucky." And I'm like, "I hate them. I love guys." And she's laughing and she's like, "There's no way you're gay." So like some of the dating coaches out there who come off as gay, like don't try to use that to your advantage because you just come off as gay. If you're like weak and shy, like don't tell a girl that you're a virgin as a joke. I joked about that all the time. That like I've never kissed a girl. I was an altar boy growing up. I'm waiting until I'm married and girls would laugh and stuff. So self-deprecating humor, don't use it if there's a chance they might think it's true. But it works if they know it's not true, right? So it's the same thing I think with nagging is guys who don't have cool shit going on in their life and aren't good at this stuff. Like then I think it might go to that old version of knocking her down a few pegs, which then is a horrible, evil, dark-sided like tactic, right? And then if that works on someone, then that's not a good start to a relationship. And if that's what you have to do to get interest and attraction in you, I mean, that's a huge red flag because you shouldn't need to do that to anyone to get them to like you. Like, you should just be awesome. Instead of the mindset of me chasing butterflies, I'm a bright light and I attract moths. Like, I should just be able to be awesome and attract women. And if you're not yet, then that right there tells you everything you need to know. You need to level up. So that's my take on NEGS. I've heard it said one way on the TV show years before. Mystery said it on the Facebook page, which I have no reason to doubt it. And I think that's how they kind of play with it. And again, if you deliver it right, like even if you're kind of busting someone's balls, then they will laugh and it'll be funny because something's funny. It's funny. And that was another coach too, where he's like, it just kind of shows disinterest. You're like just disqualifying, but you're like doing it like in a jokey ball busting manner, which then to me, that kind of makes more sense because I love busting balls. But it's again, if I don't think something's cool, then I don't think it's cool. And if I'm indifferent to it, I'm indifferent. And if I think something's awesome, like I'm not going to pretend I don't think it's awesome. Like I'm not going to lose my shit over it, but I'm going to recognize that it's cool. And I think that's why my take on this stuff is different. So yeah, there were so many openers I read back in the day and I just was like, this is horrible. This is cheesy. I'll never do this. Oh, this one's worse. Carrying around a prop bag, carrying around a bag full of lint. Like I hated all that stuff when I read it first. The key though is I think I read it and I understood like the formula behind it. And so then that's when I was able just to go out and start making my own openers and kind of following the structure. But even then, that's like someone else's comedy set list, or that's someone else's music, or that's like someone else's story. Like I don't want to be a cover band. So I kind of understood it and then it helped me. Like it's almost like taking like music classes or improv or comedy classes and then learning your own style of comedy and then or music. And then you do that and you do your thing. And I think that's the way it should be because then I'm never wearing a mask. The mask never has to come off, which it always, if you're wearing one, it eventually does. But I don't have to worry about it coming off because I'm me. I'm unapologetically me. And people either love me or they hate me. And that's fine. Because there's so many people in the world. I don't have time for too many of them. I already have more than enough people in my life. I'm trying to cut out a few. So yeah, it's no problem if you're a little polarizing. So I think lastly, if you're a guy who's chasing pee, and you got to remember too that like bragging about getting laid was cool when you're in high school in the locker room with other guys who aren't getting laid. Like then when you would brag about it, like it was cool because no one else is getting it. But once you're an adult and like once you're a normal whatever percentage dude that like is just living a good decent life, like you're getting laid. So then to talk about it is like weird because that's not really what men do. Boys do, teenagers, young adults, guys who are all in like sex is a huge priority in their life. Like they talk about it, but like all the squared away badass dudes I know, like don't talk about that stuff. They might talk about a new girl they met that they're happy and it's cool that they met her, but they're excited about it, but they're not like talking about specifics and all that. So you also have to remember like bragging about getting laid is only cool to guys who aren't getting laid. So a lot of this stuff is like you're in that bubble, guys who don't have social skills, guys who aren't getting laid, guys who don't know how to communicate, guys who are just scared to go up and say hi to a girl. Like if you're just in that pond, then a lot of this stuff I think works for those guys. But once you get out of that and get into like the real world and real dating, then like that isn't part of it. I will say one of the best books I ever read was Way of the Superior Man. I didn't read it till I think a couple years ago, but I had it for years. I will say years ago, if I would have read it, it wouldn't have made sense. It wouldn't have resonated with me because I wasn't ready for it yet. So that's another thing I understand when I'm coaching guys, some guys might be here, but other guys might be down here. and like just going out and approaching and user routines is what they need because you need to get up to this point. But if you're to the point where you're actually out having cool relationships, cool girls, potential long-term, very long-term partners, like that would be something I would highly recommend. And that's something that like I've never heard like PUA guys ever talk about. It was always about getting the girl, but not keeping or being awesome with the girl. So on that, I'm gonna call it a night. If you dug this, let me know. Last night's video was on the Bravo Hood page. I just wanted to put one up there also to like put some live streams up. I'm gonna be out in a couple days. I got a trip coming up, so I won't be live streaming. Maybe I'll do something from my phone. We'll see how it goes on the road. Maybe I'll do it just for fun, just to keep it going. But I'm gonna be at a wedding and stuff, so I got to see what the schedule is and all that. But I wanted to hit it for a week and then take a little step back, reassess some stuff, fix things up, update the page. I'm looking at different software like OBS and things to like stream better. I don't know if I'm gonna stick on YouTube. So Twitch, Rumble, TikTok Live, Instagram. I don't know. I got to look at all those. Facebook. So if you guys have any feedback or insight, I'd love you to DM me and let me know. And yeah, I'm gonna take a step back, figure out a game plan a little bit, and then start doing another push and seeing how it goes. So if you don't see me in a little bit, that's why. But I'll definitely be back and letting you know what's going on. Good night, guys. I'm gonna take some NyQuil later.